Hello, everyone. Really excited to start my own investment channel called the Fast Tracked Retirement.ca. The intention of the channel is to share with you my experience in having retired a little early through a process which I call the five pillars of portfolio management. Um, I'm 55 years old. My name is Mahesh, and you can say I have retired say 10 years before a traditional 65-year-old retirement. And I'll get to my five pillars of portfolio management, which helped me achieve that in a few minutes from now by sharing my screen. But typically, when people hear about portfolio management, the first thing they ask me is, so which stocks should I invest in? Which ETF should I invest in? And yes, picking the right stocks, ETFs, it's a maze out there, right? But picking the right investments is a very important component of portfolio management. But unfortunately, it does not end there. You have to go through the entire process of portfolio management. If you simply want to cut to the chase and look at my portfolio, I have an Excel document for a free download on my website, the Fast Tracked Retirement.ca. You could do that, but I would suggest you not do it. You go through this first video of mine where I don't get into details in this video. Maybe the second video I will into my Excel document showing you the different tickers I have. This video is more about giving you a more holistic view on how you manage a portfolio from start to finish. And I'm going to keep the video to less than 20 minutes. So it's kind of a teaser. And then you can go to my site and schedule a free appointment with me. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. I've just retired early myself through my own process. But if you need help, I'm happy to help you at no cost to you. I don't charge a fee. I don't take anyone's money. The whole idea is to help, and it's not work for me. I mean, I like doing this. It's a passion. But in my early 30s, I did realize that to depend completely on my employment income to sustain my living expenses is not a good long-term solution. So how do you retire early and start doing things that really are interesting for you? Like, I like hiking, I like reading, I like portfolio management. How do I get to that stage of retiring early and doing these things versus simply depending on my employment income? So portfolio management is one solution which you should try and generate enough income from your portfolio in terms of a regular monthly cash flow that duplicates your income when you were employed. In fact, I would say try and generate a little more income because when you retire, you'll start doing a few more things that you haven't been doing while employed. Again, I'm not here to tell you how to lead your life, whether it's a frugal lifestyle, whether it's a lavish lifestyle. That's really your call. But my point is that your portfolio should generate enough cash flow similar to what it was when you were employed. I mean, most of us, I wasn't a CEO of a big public company with stock options. I did not run into big inheritance money. So the only solution really for me was to build a portfolio in the last 15, 20 years, I would say, that now generates enough cash flow for me to maintain my lifestyle. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys and help you understand in my first video today on what the overall approach for portfolio management should be from my point of view again. So give me 1 second. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see my screen here. First things first, I am not a licensed financial advisor. I do this for myself, for my own fun. I like portfolio management, but I'm not a licensed financial advisor. So if you decide to take any financial decisions, do consult a professional financial advisor. Okay, so let's get to this five pillars of portfolio management that I talked about, right? And these five pillars, not one pillar comes before another or after another. These five pillars need to work in harmony with each other. They need to be synchronized and they need to function together, connected to each other. So I'll walk through each of these five pillars And I know some of this may seem a little complex. Again, do your own research, meet a licensed financial advisor, or you can schedule an appointment with me. Because I'm not licensed, like I said, I'm more than happy to explain to you why I did what I did. But and you can tailor your portfolio based on what I have done, but there is no one size fits all, but I can help you. Okay, so the first point here is the investment vehicles, right? Out there you have individual stocks, you have ETFs. Within ETFs, you have closed-ended funds as ETFs, you have split share fund ETFs, you have covered call ETFs, you have bonds. Within bonds, you have corporate bonds, you have treasury bonds. It's a maze out there. And I know all this may sound very complex for a beginner investor. It's not that complex. You just need to do your own research, or, like I said, schedule an appointment with me. I'm happy to walk you through some of the basics, and maybe even going forward, I can even do a basic video. I mean, I'll go with the flow. None of my videos are going to be scripted today. My first video, it's not scripted. I'm just going with the flow and trying to make this work. Of course, I worked on these PowerPoint slides and Excel documents, but there is no script to what I'm doing. So I'll create videos in the future depending on what the feedback is. So that's for the investment vehicles. The second one, the risk tolerance here, you have to weigh yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 as to how much risk are you willing to take. It's amazing how much investment actually teaches you about your own temperament, about your own risk profile, and how you like to do things. For example, myself, I give myself a risk rating of 7. 7 because I'm invested heavily in equities, but I also have bond ETFs, I have cash ETFs, and I have covered call ETFs, which, mind you, are risky, but I know what I'm doing because I need to generate income to meet my monthly living expenses. So understand what your risk tolerance is, which comes from understanding how much time horizon you have left. Are you in your 20s? Are you in your 30s? Are you in your 40s? So your risk differs depending on your age. And if you have some understanding of how much time will you spend without an employment. Cash flow planning, the number 3 point here, it's as simple as understanding how much cash do you need every month to maintain your living expenses. And by living expenses, again, you have a frugal style, you have a very lavish style. That's your call, but it's important you generate enough cash to meet those living expenses. My suggestion, like I said, would be to have enough cash every month coming in, which helps you sustain the life that you led before you retired. When it comes to an account structure, I mean, the Canadian government, the CRA, gives you a lot of registered accounts, the two most common ones being the RRSP and the TFSA. And then once you maxed out on those, you can open a non-registered account as well, which obviously has some tax liability, but you could do that. And then what kind of funds go into which portfolio? Depending on your situation, you may want a specific fund in a TFSA and a very different fund in the RRSP and a very different fund in your non-registered account. It all depends on you and your family situation. And when it comes to tax planning, I would suggest meet with a tax planner. Do your own research, meet with a tax planner, but planning your taxes is such an important part of portfolio management. Tax planning, by tax planning, honestly, this sounds weird, right? But I actually like paying taxes. I love paying taxes because I came to this country as an immigrant. The country gave me a lot in terms of a good infrastructure, a great way to live. So you must pay your taxes, but the CRA gives you a lot of legal ways to reduce your tax. For example, there's a tax classification called eligible dividends. If you, and this example again just struck me, it's a raw example, but trying to make a point here. If you make $55,000 to $60,000 in eligible dividends in Canada, that's completely tax-free. Of course, the caveat here is it has to be your only source of income, and very few of us, practically speaking, have dividends as your only source of income. But I'm just saying, to give an example, you could make 60K in Ontario, Canada, tax free if that source of income is eligible dividends. So a family of two, that's $120,000 a year, $10,000 a month, completely tax free. And this is one example. There are so many other legal ways of actually minimizing your taxes. And you must get more research on that. Okay. Like I said, I have so many different kinds of ETFs across different funds, across different sectors. It's in an Excel document for a download, but if I was to summarize it in one slide, depending on my family members, for me, this is one quick summary on how my portfolio is structured among the different family members. So, myself, Mahesh Sharma, I have a maxed out TFSA, a maxed out RRSP, and a non registered account. My TFSA is mostly covered call ETFs. Now, one question would be, what the heck is a covered call ETF? Maybe that's a separate video. I can't possibly cover so much ground, and I'm trying to keep this video condensed to 20 minutes. So I can't cover all these technicalities today, but maybe I'll do a video separately on a covered call ETF because it is an important part of my TFSA, my wife's TFSA. You can see here it's all in covered call, and my son's TFSA as well. At this point of time, all I'm going to say is that a covered call ETF generates option premium income, which helps me meet my living expenses since I don't have employment income anymore. It gives me a very high distribution yield. But the flip side is the upside is capped during a very good bull market when, for example, 2023, 2023, sorry, 2024 and 2025 were good markets in Canada and the US. And during the bull market, my upside is capped, but then I generate monthly income, which helps me meet all my expenses. So I'm going to end it at there and maybe do some more videos on covered call ETFs and split share funds in a future video. My RRSP has no covered calls because I don't need to generate income in my RRSP as of now. Maybe I'll have a different plan in a few years from now, and I need to have a proper RRSP meltdown plan. But my RRSP is mostly growth ETFs, growth stocks, and bond ETFs as well, and dividend paying individual stocks. And I have a non-registered account which has a split share fund, which is another ETF, a little more risky, generates good yield for my monthly income. And my spouse, like I said, is TFSA. She is still employed. So my wife doesn't make sense for me to have a non-registered account for her because that would generate income and simply increase her tax liability. She pays tax on her employment income right now, and I want to keep it at that. And my son, who's a 21-year-old student, eventually, hopefully, he'll have a good job. But right now, I'm using his TFSA room to maximize the distribution income, like I said, for my household expenses. And this is interesting. I'm going to pause here for a second and explain to you that I'm using my son's non-registered account with a cash ETF. And by cash, I mean it's not cash lying in a checking account. It's actually a cash ETF that generates a very small rate of return, like 2.5%, 3%, depending on the interest rate environment. I'm shooting this video in April 2026. So the interest rates are really low right now. And because he's not employed, he has no income, he's on a very low tax bracket. So I don't mind paying taxes on this cash ETF income that he generates. But the cash is really to buffer me during a market meltdown. So let's say if there's a 2007 or 2008 kind of crisis and the stock prices crash, or there's a tech meltdown of the early 2000s, my covered call ETFs, they will reduce their distribution income for sure to keep the NAV. Now, what's a NAV? That's a different discussion for beginners, but they will reduce distribution. So when that happens, to keep my lifestyle going, I need a backup cash. So this cash ETF at that point of time can be sold because it doesn't go up and down with the market. It's literally like sitting on cash, but it gets me a little interest. All of you, as part of your portfolio management, must have a buffer, a backup plan what financial advisors call a cash wedge to manage your portfolio. Okay, so I want to keep it at that for now. The other thing which I wanted to show you guys today, and I'll dive into it more deep maybe in my when I do my second video. But for now, all I wanted to show you was I have this Excel document on my website, which has 6 different worksheets. What you're seeing here is Mahesh TFSA, but it has a Mahesh non-registered. It's got my spouse TFSA, spouse RRSP, my son non-registered. And I'll get into more details on some of the stickers and the ETFs that I have, but I just want to give you a quick glimpse on what this format is, okay? So the security name here is the name of the vendor that actually issues the ETF. So there's Harvest, Hamilton, Evolve, Hamilton again, Global X, the symbol or the stock ticker, the currency in which it's invested, the asset class. Like I said, my TFSAs are all in covered call ETFs. But then if you go to my tab, which says Mahesh RRSP, you'll see cash there. You'll see US equity ETF, hardly any covered calls here. You'll see a Canadian bond ETF, and you'll see a few individual stocks as well. Okay, so that's the format. And then the closest sector is, let me go back to my TFSA sheet. The closest sector also shows here. So you can see I'm invested in US tech, on the S&P 500 index, the Canadian banks, the NASDAQ, the US Treasury bonds, telecoms, the NASDAQ 100 index, only the gaming. And I see a few zeros here. It's not, it's not literally zero. It must be 0.4 and then just got rounded off to zero. But this shows the weightage of these tickers that I have in each of my portfolio. It adds up to 100%, obviously. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. Like I said, I'll get into this Excel file do a deep dive into this Excel file maybe in my next video. It's available for a download for you guys, but I'll go through it for about 15-20 minutes in my next video. Okay, so if you made it this far, I truly appreciate your patience for being with me and going through my first video. My second video, I said this a few times, I'll get into more details on my entire portfolio, why I have a certain stock or ETF in a TFSA and not in a RRSP, and why do I have something in a RRSP and not in my non-registered, and why I have different ETFs, maybe in the portfolio of different family members depending on their situation. So I'll get into that detail later, and then I'll see how the channel goes depending on the feedback I get from friends, family, from all of you. I'll keep creating videos, maybe a basic video on what these different kinds of ETFs are, beginner investor kind of videos. Let's see how it goes. But like I said, you do go on to my website. I'd appreciate that, on fasttrackedretirement.ca. I want my channel to become successful. This way, I can help more people. And again, I'm not licensed, so I will not take anyone's money. I will not charge a fee, and it's not a big deal for me because I like doing this. This is I give vent to my passion this way, so it's fun for me. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. So till next time, thank you.